Good morning and welcome to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation via Zoom and webcast. Before we begin, here are some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell phone. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute by the host. Public members will not be able to mute or unmute manually. Audio for members of the public will be unmuted once they are recognized to make public comment. We'll go ahead and move on to roll call.
Okay, good morning. Mr. Cunha.
Here.
Ms. Zimmerman. Mr. Clark. Ms. Brown. Mr. Brian Medeiros. Ms. Gutile. Mr. Da Silva. Mr. Chris Medeiros. Ms. Lopes. Mr. Hofdahl.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Savage. Ms. Pitt.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Rios.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Sanders. Ms. Deming.
Here.
Ms. Nebaker.
Here.
Ms. Holmes.
Here.
Mr. Liba. Ms. Eggers.
Here.
Mr. Minkir. Thank you. Ms. Fast. Mr. Tuttle. Mr. Cryer.
Here.
Ms. Matthews.
Here.
Mr. Trost. Mr. Zachariah. Mr. Amabil. Mr. Moran. Mr. Cantu. Mr. Singh. Mr. Fisher. Ms. Hernandez. Mr. Medeiros. Yes. Okay, through the chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any corrections or additions from the members to the minutes previously submitted for the June 2nd, 2026 CAC meeting?
Any members in either of the regions have any edits or suggestions on the minutes? Seeing none, call for public comment. Are there any public comments in Bakersfield on the minutes?
No public comment in Bakersfield?
Thank you. Modesto, any public comments?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Seeing none in the Fresno office and none online. Through the chair, I just wanted to make note that Ms. Brown and Mr. Sanders are in attendance.
Very good. Thank you. The minutes are approved as submitted. Now we'll go ahead and go on to item 5, public comment. This time is provided for members of the public on matters within the Citizen Advisory Committee's jurisdiction, both on and off the agenda. Members of the public are requested to reserve comments on agenda items 4, 10, and 11 until those items are heard. Each of those items will include a separate opportunity for public comment at that time. Please note that state law prohibits the board from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Are there any? Go ahead.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public in Modesto?
No members of the public in Modesto.
Okay, any public comments in Bakersfield?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Any members of the public in Fresno? Seeing none in office or online?
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to item 6, chair comments. Just want to thank everyone for being here. Please bear with me. Taking that month off is definitely, obviously, got to get back in the swing of things. So bear with us. We'll go ahead and move on to item 7, executive director comments.
Good morning, Shiraz Gill, Deputy APCO here. First, I just want to welcome everybody back and bear with me as well. You know, I need to get adjusted, but I hope everyone had a good summer break and looking forward to the next half of the year. A lot of interesting and, great items ahead of us and challenges. I also want to welcome new member Nebiyu Menker to the CAC. He is the new environmental primary member for Tulare County, and maybe later if we want to give him an opportunity to say something, or even now, we could do that. So really looking forward to working with you. Just a quick update on wildfires. As you know, there's been some crazy wildfires happening in Europe and Canada, and the Canadian wildfires have caused some significant impacts to the eastern states. We've been fortunate here in the San Joaquin Valley. There's been little minor wildfires that haven't had any real impacts. There's been maybe a day or two or a few days that we have seen some impacts, but while I'm crossing my fingers, the wildfire season really starts in August, right? So we're not out of the danger here. The district's team, we're going to continue to track all these wildfires and provide any updates to the CAC in future meetings. Also want to highlight a Clean Air, Clean Solutions showcase that happened at the California State Capitol just yesterday. This was in collaboration with South Coast Air Quality Management District and the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, where they basically, it was like a cleaner day, right? To showcase all the innovative technologies. There was air monitoring demonstrations there at the Capitol. There was agriculture equipment there. So just kind of a cool showcase of what is happening, what are the technologies that are out there for people to see, the legislators to come and interact and engage. A number of our staff were there yesterday, representing the district and, having so much experience with these technologies. So it was a pretty cool day for all the air pollution control districts to get together and showcase all the work that we're doing. So that was pretty cool. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Shiraz? I'm sorry.
You know what? We need one of these for me. The name tag.
I actually said everyone's name on the way
No,
over
it's
here
okay.
in my head
My mom gets it
because I
wrong,
knew I was
too.
going to forget it.
My mom gets it wrong too. Don't worry. It's okay.
Any questions or comments for Shiraz in Fresno? Any questions or comments in Bakersfield? Any in Modesto? Okay, and please forgive me, Mr. Nebiyu. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. My name is Nebiyu Menker. I'm representing the Tulare County Resource Management regard to the environment. I work for the Tulare County Resource Management Agency as a planner. I also do their GIS. And I'm hoping I could put some input regarding the communities in Tulare, the economical problem and the air pollution problems. So I'm going to sound a lot about Tulare. So thank you for allowing me to be here. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Now we'll go on to item 8, verbal report from California Air Resources Board. We'll wait for Shayla.
She should be coming up any moment here.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shayla Ott. I am the lead SIP planner for San Joaquin Valley in the Central Valley Air Quality Planning section here at CARB. And today I will be sharing regulatory updates from July 2026, and then providing a list of upcoming meetings and workshops for August. And you might see on the screen here, we also have Matthew Lakin joining us today. He is the Air Quality Planning and Science Division Chief at CARB. And so he's in attendance to help answer any questions that might be coming up, as well as my manager, Mark Hickson. And so with that, I will go ahead and get started. Starting with the recent board meeting that was held on July 23rd, 2026. This board meeting included 3 discussion items. First, the board considered the appointment of new and alternate members to the Assembly Bill 32 Environmental Justice Advisory Committee, or EJAC. And then the board considered adoption of the 2026 state implementation plan revisions for the California extreme ozone non-attainment areas, including the San Joaquin Valley. And last, the board also heard an update on the implementation of the Community Air Protection Program. And so for the first discussion item, the board heard staff's recommendations for the appointment of new and alternate members to the AB 32 EJAC. The members of the EJAC were nominated by environmental justice organizations and community groups, and are comprised of representatives from communities in the state with the most significant exposure to air pollution, including but not limited to communities with minority populations or low-income populations, or both. And 2 members engage in environmental justice work in the San Joaquin Valley. Rio Ojas, who is a co-visionary of RAHOK, and Thomas Helm JD, who is a co-founder of Valley Improvement Projects. And the EJAC will serve a 3-year term and advise the board on the next update to the scoping plan and any other matters related to Assembly Bill 32. The board adopted Resolution 26-10, approving the 11 recommended new committee members and 2 alternate members. And the list of all approved EJAC members can be found in the meeting presentation and resolution language linked in the agenda that was provided in today's update. And next, the board, as I mentioned, heard an annual progress update from the Office of Community Air Protection on the implementation of the Community Air Protection Program, or CAP. The presentation included an overview of CAP's program funding and allocations, with $150 million in current funding for fiscal year 2026 to 2027, coming from the SB 111 General Fund. And Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund allocations are still ongoing in the legislature. So that $150 million likely is not final. The program has achieved progress in the 19 selected communities as a result of the CAP, including implementation of community emission reduction programs, or CERPs, that are reducing residential exposure to pollutants like NOx and diesel particulate matter. And the program also continues to support 64 consistently nominated communities with more community-focused enforcement, supplemental environmental projects, and a statewide mobile monitoring initiative. And finally, the board considered the proposed 2026 state implementation plan revisions for the California extreme ozone non-attainment areas. Due to adverse federal actions taken over the last year, revisions to commitments and other related elements were necessary to support the approval of state implementation, or SIP, submittals for the San Joaquin Valley, South Coast Air Basin, and Coachella Valley that are currently awaiting U.S. Environmental Protection Agency action. the 2026 Extreme Ozone SIP revision modifies the commitments that were originally part of the 2022 state SIP strategy and included as emissions reductions for non-attainment areas in California for the 70 parts per billion ozone standard, as well as planning emissions inventories, reasonable further progress demonstrations, and associated motor vehicle emissions budgets for that standard. In this SIP revision, CARB made updates directly as a result of the federal attacks to CARB's programs. And while several measures remain as were originally established in the 2022 state SIP strategy, changes in the 2026 revision included updating some measures, reallocating some of the reductions from measures impacted by federal actions to other still planned measures, and reallocating the remaining reductions from impacted regulations to a commitment under the 182E5 New Technologies provision of the Clean Air Act. It's due to the size of the potentially foregone reductions from the federal actions that we have to use flexibilities in Section 182E5 of the Clean Air Act to reallocate many of the reductions to future measures and technologies to improve the likelihood of US EPA approval. This is a temporary solution while CARB continues to develop new regulations and other mechanisms to achieve these emissions reductions. The Clean Air Act allows for use of 182E5 by extreme ozone non-attainment areas, given their long planning horizon and likelihood of new controls and new technologies being developed over that time. We are using this in the near term to avoid disapprovals and resulting sanctions clocks and transportation conformity freezes in the valley, as well as the other extreme non-attainment areas. The board item presentation highlighted these updated plan elements, including the modified commitments that reallocate reductions to 182E5 New Technologies and minor revisions to those measures that are still planned, as I mentioned. And during the board item, CARB received public comments from Valley residents and community organizations related to recommendations for potential regulations to further reduce criteria pollutant emissions. Recommendations highlighted a statewide indirect source review measure, off-road equipment regulations, including agricultural equipment and heavy-duty trucks. After discussion of the item, the board adopted the 2026 Extreme Ozone SIP Revision Resolution 26-5 as proposed, and the board directed CARB staff to evaluate and report back on the potential for any additional regulations and incentives related to off-road equipment and other sources of emissions that were referenced in the public comments. In addition to providing this report back to the board in the coming months, the next steps are to move forward with submitting the 2026 Extreme Ozone SIP revision to the US EPA. Additional information on the meeting, including the resolution 26-5, can be accessed at the web pages linked below. And I just want to note that our written updates that were submitted in the agenda mistakenly in one spot referenced the resolution as 26-6, but it is 26-5. And so that was the overview for the recent July board meeting. And next, I will be reviewing upcoming public workshops and meetings. On August 18th, 2026, from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, CARB will host the next monthly virtual community meeting on clean transportation and mobility programs, incentives, and regulations. During these monthly meetings, CARB staff discuss updates to incentive project funding, as well as the development and implementation of zero emission transportation and mobility projects. The August meeting topics include a recap of the July Clean Off-Road Equipment Voucher Incentive Implementation Work Group, long title there, a recap of the Transportation Refrigeration Unit Regulation Concepts Development Workshop #1, and planning for future evening community meetings. Registration for this upcoming evening community meeting is available at the link below. Next, CARB invites you to participate in a virtual work group meeting on August 19th, 2026 from 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific to discuss implementation of the board approved fiscal year 2025 to 2026 and 2026 to 2027 funding plan, as well as the development of the fiscal year 2026 to 2027 long-term heavy-duty investment strategy. Each year, as part of the public process following board approval of the funding plan, staff conduct a work group to define new mechanisms and criteria to present and discuss annual updates to the implementation manual. This meeting will be held via Zoom, and registration is available at the link in today's agenda. The next board meeting is currently scheduled for August 27th to 28th, 2026. Typically, though, board meetings are not held in the month of August, and there are no items currently calendared, so this meeting may not be held. If the board does hold a meeting this month, the public agenda and instructions on how to join will be available at the CARB webpage linked in this update 10 days prior. And next, on August 25th, 2026, from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, CARB will host the first public workshop on the roadmap that will guide actions on toxic air pollution moving forward. This effort builds on conversations that have been had over the last several months, focused on emerging toxics such as acrolein and ethylene oxide, including the workshops held jointly by CARB and OEHA across the state in early June. During the August 25th workshop, the public should expect a detailed introduction to the roadmap, an outline of next steps for roadmap development, and an opportunity to provide input. The workshop will be held remotely via Zoom, and registration is available at the link below. And that concludes my updates for today, but as always, happy to open it up for comments, questions, concerns, and yeah, thank you all for listening today.
Thank you. Any questions or comments in Bakersfield? Seeing none. Any questions or comments in Modesto? Also seeing none. Any questions or comments here in Fresno?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
I understand the process you're doing. I need a clarification about the selected communities. What is the criteria to do the selection? If you can elaborate a little bit on those ones, the 19 selected communities and the 64 nominated communities. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I can check in with our CARB staff that focus on the community air protection plan. They'll have more information. I unfortunately don't get to work on that program directly, but definitely a good question. So we'll reach out and get that information and pass it along.
Mr. Cunha.
Yeah, thank you. Very well presentation again. Appreciate CARB having this new method. Really is a big difference, and we really, all of us appreciate the summaries. Mr. Lincoln, this will probably pertain to you. I attended via Zoom for 6.5 hours of your CARB meeting last Thursday. Deeply disappointed on how people can make comments, and none of the staff or even board members would question where this information came from, such as agriculture is polluting and has over 70% of the NOx in the valley. None of those type of comments were ever questioned. But yet what I heard was a great job for you presenting yourself today. Gee, that's really brave of you to come forward, or really good for you to be on a watch party discussion when people are laughing, doing a presentation when it's no joke. What was talked about last Thursday was no damn joke. I'm extremely disappointed how agriculture has weighed in since 1993 with the first almond study. We moved forward. We worked with formed the district. We moved forward in 97, 98. And some of the staff are here called smoke management program versus having everybody light up and not having some type of meteorology control. As we move fast forward into the study agency, the Seacoast and the SARMAP studies, the two largest studies ever done, 70 million, including Edwards Air Force Base, who put in 10 million because of the importance of the study. As we move fast forward, agriculture has stepped up to deal with the CMPs, conservation management practices, versus best available control. That doesn't work for our industry. As we move fast forward even more, we came across a thing called ag ice engines, where we took out diesel engines and we put in electrification. Some, and the staff is here, and Todd, you can correct me, some 7,000 or 8,000 engines were replaced with electrical motors. As we move fast forward, we go into a thing called 2008. In 2008, we came up with the staff of this district and ARB, a thing called the Farmer Program. We had a trade-up program. We had a small farmer program where farmers could trade in their old tier 0s and 1s and get assistance on getting a new cleaner tractor. And that program continued. And at that time, a young lady by the name of Lynn Terry, ARB, said we need to come up with 5 to 10 tons. We came up with 17 tons in 2015. 2 tons of that went over to the new request of agriculture through the district, meeting the 11 tons by the year of December 31st of 23. We came up with close to about 13 tons. Now we have a second partner in all of this. It's called USDA. Not one really mentioned about USDA NRCS fundings, in which that program allowed to take treated steaks to a proper facility, oil the roads, put in solar, a bunch of great things that agriculture did through USDA. All of that done and not even mentioned very much of it at all, but yet we were thrown under the bus. And everybody that spoke, I guarantee you, had to have eaten agricultural food grown in this state and not just pine nuts. I don't think their body was sustained just pine nuts. They're not a squirrel or a rat. You know, those animals, those creatures can survive on that, but human beings cannot. So everybody that spoke had a great full stomach that day. And yet we weren't given the credit that we deserved and the respect we deserved upon what we have done voluntarily. Even with the yanking of the waivers, Agriculture is still offered to help this state deal with the 165-ton shortfall. And that wasn't even mentioned per se in the write-up, which is an important part of this whole discussion. And how these regulations would be done to agriculture. Everything from going after all tier 1, 0s, 2s, and 3s, and put everybody into a tier 4 and maybe a potential tier 5 by the year 2037. Really a very much disappointment. And yet telling my farmers to go out and buy brand new tractors when that cost will never happen. And secondly, you have to get a waiver. You have to get a waiver to get that. To go after me, you're going to have to get a federal waiver. And that's going to be hell to do. I don't care what president is in office. But I was extremely disappointed because ag has always been there. Voluntary programs that have been successful, very successful, both by USDA and by this district, San Joaquin Valley, coordinating and working, probably having one of the best farm equipment programs as compared to the truck program disaster that CARB had. So I am disappointed. I see what the board did at the end. Okay, great. But yet no one questioned anybody for facts. And I thought CARB was based on science. The study agency is a science-based group of research. And yet nobody questioned anybody's facts against agriculture. And it was really disappointing. Agriculture is there to clean up the air, and it has been. And the last thing I forgot, Madam Chair, agricultural burn has been removed in the San Joaquin Valley. But yet we can have forest fires going up all over the crazies, burning up the states, the countries, and everything. And here, agriculture in the 8 counties no longer burns, only under very special circumstances. And not even a discussion about that. I know when I testified, I brought it up, but that was the end. It was not like, well, yes, agriculture has done these things. And they have, but no recognition in the sense that it should have been. And I know Dr. Cliff had his hands full with other things going on, and I understand that. But there's a lot of you staff. There's a lot of you staff sitting around there that could have said something. But I am extremely disappointed because you took agriculture and you threw us under the bus with spikes on them, on half of the tires, on not the other half of the tires, I guess. And the last thing is, we've asked several times, Matt Lincoln, Mr. Lincoln, the chair of ARB, and Dr. Cliff, what is the need of power in this state? When I just heard Virginia, the state of Virginia, just denying several major data centers because it was going to strip the state of its power if they were going to connect these big, huge mega data centers. That's going to see the same thing happen to California. But we've asked you for this demand of power to operate 1.6 million trucks. Going to be pretty hard to electrify tugboats. They're going to weigh 3 times the weight and become a walking bombshell on the water because of a battery that weighs, I guess, 43,000 pounds. So that has not been followed up by the staff. And we've never heard from CARB what that demand is. The utilities can't even produce it, can't even give us a number. And plus telling us to all go to electric hot water heaters, electric stoves, electric everything. I'm surprised that we don't create electric people. You know, we don't need human beings. So I apologize for my roughness. And it's not to be against you, Matt Lincoln, at all. You are a newcomer to some of this. The young lady is absolutely, I don't want her to think that we're going after her. It is the agency. That's who I am addressing, and those people that run that agency. But I did not appreciate how agriculture was treated, and especially when witnesses are laughing and they think it's a damn joke when it's not. These are our farmers. These are our rural communities. These are the families that live in our towns, from Mendota to Wasco, you name it. So again, thank you for allowing me, Madam Chair, to go off on a tangent.
Thank you, Manuel. Let's go with Laura real quick.
I've got a quick and easy one. At CARB, who is going to be the collector of information and providing feedback back to CARB in the fall regarding the 2006 extreme ozone SIP revision? Because I know that as that meeting concluded, there was that commitment to revisit some of the public comment that was brought forward. So who's doing that at CARB? What department?
So this is Matt Lakin. I can answer this first, but I think I should also speak to some of the points that Mr. Cunha raised. I don't know if you have a preference, but I'll first for the question about going back to the board. For the SIP item, the board did direct us to get back to them on updates on how we can evaluate all off-road sources, including ag engines. My presumption is that there would be a public process associated with the board item if we were to do that. At this point, we do not yet know how and when we're going to be going to the board. We're still processing that board direction since, we did not receive that in advance. That's so we're trying to figure out when that will actually be. There's nothing scheduled at this point. But there will be presumably a public process to provide input. Certainly, if we were to proceed with any regulatory work, then there would be all the normal public process. We routinely do, years of workshops, and then including board items with public process. So there'd be opportunities both of those, informally in the workshops, formally through written comments, and then obviously with the board item itself. But none of that is scheduled at this point. Is it okay if I go back to Manuel's points?
Please.
So, Manuel, I just want to say I understand the frustration. I also understand that there was a lot of misinformation at the board meeting. Not a lot came out about in terms of the long history of us working with the agricultural industry. And you and Roger and Kevin and others as leaders. We have been working. Some of our long-term board members are familiar, but we have a lot of new board members. So we've been working with them, including in board member briefings, to talk about the history of how we work together and how, the continued need and how we can continue to work together. Just want to acknowledge that we have together, hand in hand, made tremendous progress, including with the Air District on the farmer program, the Air District's conservation management program, CMP, the elimination of agricultural burning, all of the funding sources, including the district's funding, obviously, but USDA, the EQIP program, and others. There's no doubt that we've made tremendous progress on the incentive side. A lot of the board member conversations, both privately and publicly, have been about where we can get additional NOx reductions. The additional NOx reductions are necessitated by the recent federal tax. I mean, this would not be needed. We had a plan. The Valley did not need additional emissions reductions for these 70 BPB plans, except, for what's been happening with Congress and other, and the federal government attacking our authority. So now we need additional NOx reductions. I think there are a lot of potential sources, but none of them are easy. I think, we've been, the board members have been directing us to explore all things, including incentives and regulatory work. That was the direction we got at our board meeting. I think we're looking forward to working with you. We've met with you. We've given you the numbers for ag engines. It's not just ag engines we're looking at, and it's not, we're looking at all opportunities. It's, I think hand in hand, we want to be pushing for additional incentive funding. I think, we've done the numbers. I think all tier 0, 1s, and 2s for egg engines in the valley. I think it would take $2 billion to get the 10 tons per day of NOx reductions that are possible for changing out the tier 0s, 1s, and 2s. There's other things on the table that we're looking at. There are other sources of NOx in the valley, off-road sources, locomotives. There are things that it's going to be challenging. So I think that's what the ongoing conversations are going to be. But again, we have a long history of a strong partnership with agricultural industry and the district on these sources. You guys have done an amazing job. I don't know. I think I don't know where the board is going to head. I think there were some surprises a week and a half ago. And we're going to continue to try to, figure out next steps. So, I know that's not going to be very satisfying because there was a lot of misinformation, but we're going to continue to work with our board to make sure that they really understand what we've been able to do through partnership. And I agree with you on that. And I know Steve Cliff agrees with you on this as well. So, I want to apologize that in the board meeting itself, we weren't able to correct some of those facts. It's some of it was a surprise how it came out. I think we're trying to do our best to get the good information out there. So I think it's going to have to be an ongoing dialogue. And I know Dr. Cliff is going to be working with you and the other important stakeholders to really kind of work together on next steps. And, we'll do our best on that. The other thing you brought up was about the power needs for California for the 1.6 million trucks. My understanding is Shayla did get some information from the CEC and sent it on to, in mid-July, sent it on to the, CEC. So got that information, sent it on to the CAC clerk, Katrina, in mid-July for sharing with you. So, and the other membership. So, we're certainly willing to follow up. Obviously, that's not our agency, but it obviously plays into our rulemaking, so we're certainly willing to follow up on that information about how that's used. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Matt Lincoln.
Mr. Maderos.
My question was satisfied. I wanted to hear a response. Manuel was very eloquent in what he said, but we had no response back, so I appreciate that. When you talk about the misinformation that wasn't clarified at the last meeting, shouldn't an agenda item for the next meeting be indicated so that that clarification can take place, so that the misinformation doesn't just sit out there and people think because it's not corrected that it becomes a truth?
I mean, we'll take that back. I don't think we intend to go to our board with anything related to this item again anytime soon. There's a lot of work that we're going to need to do behind the scenes. We do have a lot of chance to work with the board members, but I understand your point, which is like publicly, there are things that we can highlight in terms of both partnership opportunities, but I think there also was a lot of mischaracterization about the cause of the problem and what our actions in order to avoid sanctions would do and not do. There was a lot of discussion of delays that just wasn't true. I think this is the nature of a public meeting. There's a lot of people who are going to say some things. I think that's an important part of the public process. That's democracy. I think we'll do our best to find vehicles to make sure that we're getting accurate science-based information out to the public. We've worked with a lot of the stakeholders in the Valley, including Valley advocates, to make sure that they have the best information available so that, and I have seen them change some of their messaging based on our input. But I think the nature of democracy is people are going to share they're important perspectives as part of the process. So, you know, I think we're just going to try our best to make sure that we're putting out accurate information. We're going to find ways to do that. But at this point, we do not intend to have an additional board item related to that SIP action. But we're going to be going back to our board with a general SIP update at some point.
I'll just add to that. I'm a council member for my city, and if there's misinformation that is talked about during a council meeting, I do feel like we as a council have the obligation to, in real time, correct that information. It saves a lot of headache. Like was mentioned, if that information is out for a long time, people will take it as fact. So I'll reiterate what my colleagues said in that it is important to address misinformation at the time. I wasn't on that meeting, but it is a little disappointing that the board didn't address that in real time. I've never known anyone to just let that misinformation go. So that's a little concerning. So hopefully the board will do better in the future of correcting that in real time. I know that the information given can be a little bit volatile, but truth is very important, especially in this day and age. There's a lot of misinformation about a lot of different topics going around. And if you don't correct that, then it just breeds more misinformation. Or if you leave gaps of information, people will fill in the blanks with whatever they see fit. I think we all as boards have an obligation to make sure that correct factual information is out there and to educate people on our expertise that we're presenting. So I'll echo my colleagues' disappointment on that. But thank you for sharing.
Just to be clear, because I think you said you didn't attend, that agenda item ended up being 4.5 hours, and I, along with Dr. Cliff, spoke more than I think we anticipated. We spent multiple hours correcting on the issues. So it was not that we left things. It was not that we did not attempt to correct on everything. I think it was just that Mr. Cunha rightfully pointed out that there were things that we didn't fully address. And I think it was again, I think that board item was scheduled for 2 hours. We went 4.5 hours because we were doing so much correcting and clarifying. So at some point, it's not that we weren't attempting. I completely agree with you on that point. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, you have something else?
Completely agree with these sentiments. And I think that it's a shame that during the board process that CARB staff isn't given opportunity to come in with their expertise and fact check, so to speak, because there was a lot of public comment that was given that was just completely inaccurate. And I think at this point, how CARB, from what I understand, how CARB is structured, all we would be given would be like a unscheduled appearance in the beginning, like the public comment period could be taken advantage of, or we as CSC could draft a letter. I guess that would actually, a lot of that might fall on the shoulders of some of our air district staff. And I imagine with what you could probably even put those bullet points together in about 5 minutes, because I'm sure that it was difficult for you to watch as well. But that might be something for us to consider.
Just to follow up, and I understand what you've indicated, whenever, at our city council meetings, when we have public comment, there are items we just can't address while these public comments are being made. So I appreciate what you've indicated. But I've always said that you were mentioning in a democracy how you have to handle it. But these days we have a real indication that in the final analysis and the democracy, we get what we deserve. And I think that needs to be remembered as to how we handle these various items. We have to be proactive in how we deal with this. Otherwise, misinformation continues.
Ms. Kelly?
I'm torn between doing what we should do at this point and asking my silly question. I just want to find that power information wherever Shayla sent it and whoever it went to, whatever agency, I'd like to find it on the power question. And second, I'd like to make a motion that we write the letter that Laura suggested.
Would it be, I'm looking at the attorney, would that be, would consensus be okay for that? Or do we need a motion?
It's not an action item on the agenda. So if you have consensus, we can't take, yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. How about that? Is that better? It's not an action item on the agenda. So making a motion would make us have to, remember a couple meetings ago, we had to go through the, whether or not it was an emergency or we needed to get it done. So I think if you guys have consensus, otherwise you need to put it on the next agenda and then make your motion next time.
If we do that, it won't be timely.
That's right. I
if
don't
we-
want to wait.
If we go ahead and take the action and there is a violation, then we'd be in a situation to where if someone called us on us, we've got 30 days in which we can correct that. So we can correct it retroactively at the next meeting. So I would say we go ahead with a consensus and issue the letter and kind of roll the dice, as they say.
What's the easiest way to do consensus? I feel like when I did it last time, it was a little messy. Do we want to do roll call?
I don't know if we'd need a roll call for consensus because it's not an actual vote.
What I'd suggest is that we ask Bakersfield if there's any objection. We ask Modesto if
There you
there's
go.
any objection. and
That's
we
the
ask
easier way,
Fresno
yeah.
If there's any objection.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and ask Bakersfield, is there any objection to this letter, consensus for this letter? Seeing none in Bakersfield, any objection in Modesto?
No
Seeing-
objection, Madam Chair, but I'd like to also just note that the point is twofold of the letter, in my opinion, and that is one, correcting the record, but two, in the spirit of trying to maintain and not damage collaborative relationships, that we want to clarify the record so that it doesn't damage our ongoing collaborations and partnerships moving forward.
Agreed. Any objection here in Fresno?
No objection, but I agree with the last statement. I mean, we've had issues with our relationship as it relates to CARB, and they've been very good since that was first brought up. And I wouldn't want any of the frustrations that were indicated today to be treated as a lack of appreciation for what we have going right now. Unless Mr. Cunha thinks otherwise.
No. We formed this dam air district in 1991. Agriculture, Western States Petroleum, and the independent oil producers with Senator McCorkindale. We believe in this air district. This air district has to work hard to do what it does. But agriculture has stepped up to the plate in all shapes and forms to help this state. And I believe that Matt Lincoln, our goal is not to hurt relationships, but we're not going to be treated as the lost child every time CARB wants to get away with something or people don't do their homework. We're not going to take that. We are a Valley Air District, and we are very, very supportive of our district and our relationships with staff. And we have a staff at CARB that we work with really close. It's called the Ag Team at ARB, and it's upper management people and staff. So we do have that. The whole thing on this whole issue is to make the record clear that agriculture is not polluting, and agriculture has done a great job in voluntary programs, not being forced into regulations. Because when you get forced into regulations, there's no more funding and there's no more nice guy. I don't care who it is at CARB, there's no more nice guys. Because that takes away, because now you use regulations upon people's facts not being followed up, and they become a legislature platform. And the legislature doesn't care about facts. So I'm absolutely supportive of the chair. She's well qualified. She's done some great letters of moving forward with your recommendation. You know.
Interrupt you. Okay, so because this is not on the agenda and this is a Brown Act meeting, we can't, even with the consensus, send a letter. It needs to be put on a future agenda.
Just,
And what happens if we do?
I mean, just like we did last time, you know, we had
But
the
what- no,
same issue.
I'd like the answer to that. What happens, because we have a consensus, if we do?
We would be in violation of the Brown Act
And
requirements.
if we're in violation, what is the corrective measure?
You're going to go to jail.
No, you correct it within 30 days of the violation, and we have the opportunity to do the corrective measure. So my suggestion is we go ahead and we do it. And then if we have an issue at that point, we ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
I'm not going to advise that you do something that's
Illegal.
against the Brown Act requirements.
So noted.
So if we can't do that, oh, go ahead.
Laura? Is there any way that we could have a special meeting? I know it has to be noticed, right? 24-hour notice. Is there some way that we could do this like on Zoom or something like that? Just like a quick 10-minute special meeting? I think for like ADA requirements.
Are we allowed public comment?
Can you
Oh, Mr.
clarify what
Tuesday.
you want, what the purpose of this letter is for, please?
We would like an opportunity for the district to provide accurate information and a response to the public comments and the board member comments that were given at the last CARB board meeting.
One more time, please. Can you, and if you talk a little bit louder.
I'd like to provide something into the record that would provide information based off of science and accurate data from this air district, based off of our air district information on behalf of CAC into the record to be contrary to the public comments that were provided at the CARB board meeting and the comments that some of the individual CARB board members made.
So let me just speak to that based on that. So the district did provide public comments. This is before the public had an opportunity to say something. So South Coast Air Quality Management District, we had Tim Frank was the director of planning department. He did speak to this, and I believe he spoke about effectiveness of our incentive programs and the strategies that we have done over the last couple of decades. And I believe he also advocated for additional funding for farmer. So that is in the record. If we wanted to clarify a little more, but I do believe that there's a 2-minute comment from the district that includes not as detailed, obviously you can say everything in 2 minutes, but it does have information advocating for all the work that has been done, the improvements in air quality, in addition to how effective the incentive programs have been in advocating for additional funds.
The only thing, Shiraz, excuse me, Madam Chair, you did a great job in South Coast and Coachella, okay?
Right.
But then you weren't able to come back and question what people were saying.
Right.
And that's the part that there's somehow, some way that needs to be corrected.
Mhm.
We cannot. If the general public heard what went on, they would think that agriculture is killing people and that we have 5 million irrigated acres and we're pouring fertilizer onto that 5 million acres. Our pesticides are being sprayed onto the trees, falling onto the ground and creating NOx. Well, I had a minor in chemistry. That's not logical. That's not logical. Okay. So you don't have an opportunity to come back and question what people have said. You're done. And just like anybody of us, we're done. But the board has opportunities. And boy, the board never questioned anything we said, nothing that you said. They were neutral. But when the environmentalists got up there and they did these watch parties and people are laughing and all this, it was like, oh my God, we got to listen to all these people before we listen to the air district or industry. Industry is real biased. So we didn't have an opportunity. But if this is going to cause all this problems, you know, maybe we individually write letters and from our own communities, from our own councils, and we send up. So now they're going to get 20 letters, maybe 50 letters. And then I would CC him above. You know, you're not going to get there yet, but you know, later on you'll be getting up there, or if the other place.
And then based on the advisement of council here, we can consider something at the, I think that's a good approach, and we could consider something at the next
Because you were cut
CSC
off.
meeting.
You couldn't speak after. You couldn't comment to anybody's false information.
And I
That's
can,
sad.
we can work with the chair to figure out a potential agenda item for the next meeting. And but Chair.
Can Dennis Treestole speak if he is the main?
The chair can call for public comments if she's.
We'll go ahead and call, have public comment. We'll start here in Fresno.
Thank you. What I've heard is that timeliness is an issue here. Based on my 25 years experience on the Planning Commission, if there's a timeliness issue, there's a two-step process to add it to the agenda. One, vote that there's an emergency due to timeliness. Then second, you vote there's an emergency, and then second, you vote to add the item to the agenda, and then you vote on it. It's a less than 5-minute process. You spent more than 10 minutes talking about it here. That's my advice, so that you add it to the agenda and then it goes forward.
Thank you, sir. Any public comment in Modesto?
No
Seeing none?
public comment in Modesto.
Thank you. Any public comment in Bakersfield?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you.
So I noticed council is in a quasi negotiations, heavy negotiations. If not, I would like to recommend what Dennis Treestole proposed. We go through that process. It's legal. It meets the Brown Act. It meets all those mandate requirements under emergency request. And we vote on that part. And if it's, we add it to the agenda, then we take up what Laura's comment is in the discussion of the language. And I'm ready to do that, but I don't want to get council upset at us and then we get in trouble ourselves. So Madam Chair, I'll stop there and let you.
Yeah, thank you. If in regards to setting an agenda item on an emergency basis, it's limited to work stoppages, crippling activities, or severe impairment of public health and safety. So I don't know that the item that you're considering right now would qualify as a dire emergency that would enable you to put it on the agenda like immediately.
So if I stop the food movement of food tomorrow, I go on KMJ or the national network and say, all farmers don't produce any food for 24 hours. That's not enough, huh?
Well, that may be that's a different question that is not before us right now. But the issue of, whether to consider taking action on writing a letter, I don't know would qualify as a dire emergency under the definition.
I'd like your
of emergency
opinion.
under the Brown Act.
I'd like your opinion as to consequences. Based on our consensus of Modesto, Bakersfield, and here, that we send this letter, what are the consequences? And then thereafter, what's the remedy?
Well,
I mean, let's say someone said you issued that letter and you didn't fully comply with the Brown Act. How do we correct that?
It would be corrected by putting it on the agenda at the next regular meeting and ratifying it.
Retroactively.
Yes, that is one way of correcting
And we
that.
have a certain period of time in which we could do that.
Well, it would be on the next regularly scheduled agenda,
So
but
going back.
I
to
mean,
what-
it would be a violation of the Brown Act if you took action now on something, on a matter that's not on the agenda for an action item.
But the Brown Act also provides for a corrective manner
That is correct.
to do it retroactively. So going back to where I indicated before, we have a consensus. Let's issue the letter. And then G, we've got a potential Brown Act. Let's retroactively approve it at the next meeting.
This is Denise Modesto. I just have a really quick question and I hope it might solve everything. When is the next meeting for CARB?
It may not hold.
Because I feel like we may have a meeting before and it can just go on the agenda and we would have time to write the letter if we know that date.
There is no scheduled board item for this in the foreseeable future. It will not be in August. It most likely will not be in September. So my prediction is that the earliest this will come before the CARBS board is October, and it's not scheduled. So I don't have any more accurate prediction than that.
And if I may, through the chair, one thing that you may be able to do is assign, the drafting of a letter. And once it's finalized, bring the final draft to the next regularly scheduled CAC, at which time you can, we can put an item on the agenda for that and then take action on the final letter. That may be a more acceptable option that can avoid a Brown Act violation, notwithstanding, the cure and correct remedy. We like to avoid Brown Act violations in the first instance.
Did you have something? Your mic is on. No? Mr. Maderas?
Considering when it'll be addressed by the board in any event, we might as well wait until the next meeting to ratify a draft that the chair and Mr. Cunha prepare.
I agree. I think
chair.
that-
And the last comment by Mr. Cunha was directed to me. I understand everything you indicated, and I not only sit on the city council in Tulare, but I also am a farmer. So I appreciate everything that you've indicated.
Through the chair,
Yes.
since this is the direction we're probably going, I would like to submit some things from industry, specifically oil and gas. It could be a separate letter. Or I can just do that and send it myself. All right, I'll send it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from Bakersfield? Or Modesto? Okay. I think go ahead.
Thank you. My final comment is, I believe the comment Mr. Manuel mentioned is really true. As I'm a representative for Tulare County, Tulare has a big agricultural economy. And I know that agriculture is not a pollutant, but doing fantastic job. So I would like to go with this letter and next agenda.
Yeah. So it sounds like we will bring this back on the next scheduled meeting as an agenda item, correct? Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to bring some more lawyers in here.
Yeah, it's pretty full over there as it is. Okay. I have completely lost track. Are we done with the CARB report? Did we finish? Okay. So we'll go ahead and go on to item 9. Thank you all, by the way, for hanging in there. Update on attainment plans and rules.
Through the chair, also for the sake of time, I was thinking maybe we have a SIP item which is item number 11. You have the details in your package here, and many of the items will be addressed in item number 11. So for the sake of time, we could probably move on to item number 11.
Okay.
Item number 10, I'm sorry.
10. So skip 9 for now, or skip it all together? Okay. We'll go ahead and go to item 10. Receive update on the district's Drive Clean and the San Joaquin program.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Todd DeYoung, the district's Grants and Incentives Program Director. I'm here to give you a brief update on some timely sort of dates that we're looking at under the district's Drive Clean in the San Joaquin program. Just give you a quick update on the overall program as it stands today. Grab the remote here. So just by way of a very brief background, I know you've all heard this information before, but it's always good to kind of reiterate why we do things and why we spend money on these types of things. Reducing emissions from mobile sources is obviously a critical component of our overall strategy to attain health-based standards in air quality. As you know, mobile sources make up a majority of the ozone and PM 2.5 forming NOx and toxic diesel emission particulate matter emissions here in the Valley. And as such, the district offers a broad suite of incentive programs designed to reduce emissions from mobile sources, including everything that you just spoke about in the last item and all of the great work that we've done with the agricultural community. We've got programs for reducing emissions from heavy duty trucks, from off-road equipment like ag equipment, school buses, and light duty passenger vehicles. So those are sort of some of the targets of our incentive program dollars in the mobile source space. These programs typically achieve emission reductions by replacing older, higher polluting equipment with new, cleaner technology, including zero emission technology where feasible. Among all of the priorities that the board has set, they prioritize emission reductions and improving the quality of life in all Valley communities and including disadvantaged communities throughout the Valley. And so talking specifically this morning about the Drive Clean in the San Joaquin program, it's really targeted toward light duty sort of passenger vehicle emissions. Since 2011, we've administered the Drive Clean in the San Joaquin program. There are 3 components to the program, as you can see on this slide: the replace, the rebate, and the repair program. And we're going to just briefly go through those because we've got a little bit of things going on in each one of those components that's sort of timely for this update. Together, these 3 components offer Valley residents multiple options to reduce emissions from these types of vehicles and really contribute to cleaner air for all Valley residents. So very quickly on the repair side, the repair component, you may know it as the Tune In, Tune Up program. That's kind of its public facing program name. We've partnered since 2011, we partnered with Valley Clean Air Now, to help us administer this program. It's a repair assistance program. It's a very highly recognized program that provides low-income Valley residents with the opportunity and the funding to make emissions-related repairs to their vehicles that significantly reduce emissions throughout the Valley. It's traditionally implemented through weekend events. The graphic there is just an example of one of the flyers that we send out. This was for a Madera event. It provides up to $850 for smog-related repairs. That $850 includes diagnostic time and the cost to make the repairs, as well as provide that smog check certificate. We've been recognized multiple times by the UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation. Multiple reports have lauded the district's success in reaching the target communities, disadvantaged communities, and achieving those emission reductions in those communities. I'm happy to report that in June, with the adoption of the district's budget, This program, the repair program, was renewed for the following fiscal year. And this slide shows basically just our tentative schedule of events for the upcoming fiscal year. As you can see, we rotate through all of the regions of the valley, all of the counties in the valley. We have some requirements on where we can hold these events. They have to be large enough. They have to have ingress and egress, and there's other considerations. So we found that for a majority of these projects and a majority of these events, the cities that you're seeing on these lists here are well suited to handle those sort of large scale repair events. Valley Can's been doing this for years, and in consultation with the district, we've really got it down to a science. These things used to take all day. Now they're down to a couple of hours. They can get everyone through in a few hours. We're still consistently seeing high participation rates in almost all of these locations. So the need is definitely still out there. You would think maybe you'd see, fewer and fewer vehicles participating, but every time we go back to a city or back to a county, we're seeing consistently high participation rates throughout the valley for these events. So this information is also available on our website. If you wanted to go and take a look at that, it's got the names and locations and the dates for all of the repair events scheduled for the year. Moving on very briefly to the repair component. What we found in years of operating the replacement component, what we found in years of operating the repair component is that there are just vehicles that are just not worth repairing. We really got to get these vehicles off the road. And so several years ago, we started implementing the replacement component. And this started in the Valley and has actually become a model for the statewide Clean Cars for All program. It started here in the Valley. The model was shown to be effective and efficient, and so was promulgated statewide. This program provides up to $12,000 for low-income residents throughout the Valley to replace their old high-polluting vehicles with newer or new vehicles. The old vehicles must be at least a model year 2006 or older to participate in the program. Since we started the program in 2015, we've received nearly $120 million in CARB funding to support the implementation of the program. It's resulted in the replacement of almost 11,000 vehicles to date. This number is just slightly out of date. We're approaching 11,000 vehicles replaced throughout the Valley. And due to, again, the demand for the program remains to be extremely robust. And because of that, we were actually forced to stop accepting new applications. We had more applications than we had available funding. And one of the things that we really don't like to do here is have people keep applying when we know we don't have enough funding. It frustrates everyone involved, and we understand that. So we want to make sure that we're managing expectations. So we did have to stop accepting applications. I am happy to report that we have since received some additional funding for the program currently in-house. We have about $11.6 million available right now. We have about $3.7 million in viable applications in-house right now. And so what we're looking to do is we're looking to finally reopen the program to new applications. We're looking to do that probably in the September timeframe. The newest grant agreement that came with this additional funding required us just to make some behind the scenes tweaks to some of our contract language and things like that. So we're going through that process right now, and we'll be opening up the program to new applications come September. Also happy to report that there's about $20 million that was put into the state budget for the 26-27 fiscal year. We will receive a portion of that. Obviously, we won't receive the entire amount. There are other districts that operate this program in other areas of the state. So we will see a piece of that funding. And what we're doing right now is the funding has been kind of hit and miss, and we're having to lobby every year to get this funding in place. And with a program like this that's really public facing, it's hard when people don't know that they can count on the funding being there, that we're starting and stopping applications. It really erodes public trust in the program. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And so we are working extremely hard with CARB and the legislature to come up with some secure, long-term and sustained funding for the program. So it really eliminates that start and stop and gets people to really understand that this is a program that will be available when they need it. And so finally, the rebate component, our third component, this provides rebates to Valley residents who are purchasing or leasing new eligible clean vehicles. This includes zero emission battery electric, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles if they're available, plug-in hybrid vehicles, natural gas vehicles, and we also have a component for zero emission motorcycles. Applicants must reside in the Valley to take advantage of these rebates. These are post-purchase rebates. So once you purchase the vehicle, you apply for your rebate, and then we send you a check in the mail. The applicants have at least 18 months from the time they purchase the vehicle to submit their application for a rebate. So even if our program is closed like it is now, which I'll talk about in a second, they have that 18-month period. So when we reopen the program, they will still be able to apply for a rebate. They must retain ownership of the new vehicle for at least 30 months. It is open to leases, and those lease terms have to be at least that 30-month period to make sure that we get the calculated emission reductions that we're basically paying for. Since we started the program, we've provided rebates for over 38,000 vehicles. The program is regularly oversubscribed. And again, due to demand, we've been closed since October of 2025. We basically opened in, I think, July or August of last year. And within just a couple of months, we were oversubscribed and had to stop taking applications. The district's 26-27 budget that was approved back in June does include an additional $3 million for this rebate program. And we're targeting a mid-August program relaunch. I would anticipate a similar level of interest that we had last year. So we would expect funding to run out for this program probably in the October, November timeframe, like it did this past year. So we can notify this body through email and through our listservs when we have an exact date when the program will open so that you can get that out to constituents or other people that you talk to. We'd be happy to provide that information as soon as we have a date for opening up of that program. And these are the rebate amounts that I spoke about. Primarily what we're seeing is battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. So that $1,000 to $2,000 rebate is what we typically see in this program. So again, we can communicate with this body as soon as we have the date that we're going to open up the program so that you guys can get the word out to your constituents. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions if you had them.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments in Bakersfield? None. Any questions or comments in Modesto? Also seeing none. Questions or comments here in Fresno?
Yeah, hi, this is really cool. We're happy to be able to bring this to people. I just had a couple of programmatic questions on the smog failure documentation. Is there any type of timeline that people need to hit?
So there's a couple of ways that they can participate in the program. The first one is through those weekend events where they actually get that smog test, that diagnosis at the event. And if they fail at the event, they're immediately provided with a smog voucher, which then they can take to one of our participating smog shops and get those repairs done, generally at no cost to the applicant. Yeah.
And how are you qualifying low-income folks for the vehicle replacement component?
It's a sliding scale, and it depends on your a couple of different factors: the size of your household, your percentage over or under the federal poverty level, and so there's sort of a matrix. And then the third sort of factor is the emission level of the vehicle that you're wanting to purchase. So obviously the zero emission, the lowest income level are going to receive the highest amount. And then it's kind of a matrix. And that's explained on our website. You can kind of get a feel for that, but it's based on income. We do qualify people through tax documentation and things like that to understand.
Programs that they're enrolled in, they can. provide
Correct.
documentation.
Yeah, and if they're enrolled in some of these existing programs, we can use that information.
And then lastly is the vehicle replacement component. Is that only for new vehicles?
No, that's a great clarification. It does include used vehicles. There are some criteria that they have to meet, but a majority, I would say, of the projects that we do are for those used vehicles. And they can get into a late model, used, clean vehicle with a minimal out of pocket, sometimes just a couple of $1,000s, maybe sometimes the $12,000 will cover it in its entirety.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. This is very nice presentation. I personally use the Tune In, Tune Up program. It's very good for the communities. My question is about the rebate component. You mentioned it is usually oversubscribed. So now, and you also say there is a new budget line on 2026, 2027. How are you gonna accommodate these new guys? Is it you guys gonna use the old registers, or are you gonna be able to register new guys at this time?
So that's a great question. What we do, we basically, we haven't taken any applications. So we don't have any applications that are waiting for funding. Like we basically stopped as soon as we were out of funding last year. So once we open the program next month, or later this month, I guess we're in August now, it will be open to anyone that applies. So anyone that may have missed out last time, if they're within that 18-month period, they're eligible to apply, as well as new people that are just purchasing right now. So basically, everybody's on the same footing once the program reopens. We don't have anybody that's in the queue waiting already.
Fantastic program. It's so sad to see that for the $20 million, that if you had 20 million a year, guaranteed for 5 years, what an accomplishment. As I spoke at the board meeting, I think in June, one of my growers, which it was kind of compelling to hear when he called me, when he told me what happened, is that the worker came to the owner and said, "Come out and look at my car." Okay, okay. So the grower walks out with the worker, and he was so excited because he got the car through the district, through the program. He got a hybrid where he plugs it in, but he also drives on gas when he goes to the farm. But he was so proud of what he went through, and a person of color, let's use the word color, okay? A person in the farming industry had enough. You treated him with the greatest. You didn't care about some of the things that our federal government is enforcing upon, but you treated him with the greatest respect. And that's the grower, to hear how the worker told him how he was treated by your staff, Todd, is why would we not fund these type of programs? When you have that, the worker telling the employer, "Hey, look, I wasn't able to do it other ways, but the information you gave us, and my wife and I and my children," and he has young little kids. And, but I want to say it's one heck of a program, and there's no reason why this governor and any of these legislatures could not fund this program for California. But you have a whole different, somehow your staff went to people school here, and communication skills. You need to sell that or patent it to the other air districts, and maybe even to CARB. I think it'd be a really exciting one to patent. But again, Madam Chair, this is one heck of a program, but to have a farmer actually call you and tell you that, and he was just so excited on the phone, and you can feel the emotion from the farmer, but the worker was so excited to show him what he got from the air district. And he explained the whole thing. I mean, this guy could have been a car salesman at the end of the day. But again, I thank you, the entire staff, the board. This is one program, just like the farmer, must never be stopped. And the heck with that stupid train. We can take a few million out of that and give it to you guys and forget that choo-choo. But again, great program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We love to hear that feedback. Appreciate it.
We'll go to public comment.
Okay, Bakersfield, do you have any public comments?
No comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any public comments?
No public comments in Modesto.
Any public comments in Fresno? Seeing none and none online.
We'll go ahead and go on to item 11, verbal report on Clean Air Act implementation. Tim.
Great. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tim Franquist, Director of Air Quality Planning. So I'll go through a kind of a brief just update on SIPs and rules. We'll just kind of jump into it. I'll just kind of give a quick background and kind of square us here, and then we'll jump into the updates. And so you've probably seen this graphic before, but one we certainly like to start with just to kind of show some of the geographic challenges that we have in the valley here. So what we see here is a really nice picture of this basin range kind of challenge. So we have challenges both with meteorology, but also in the geography. So this basin range issue is not unique necessarily to the Mountain West, but it's much more exaggerated here where we have almost sea level basin and 14,000 foot mountain. So that graphic here, you can see how it traps in both the moisture, but also potentially pollution. One of the other things that is very unique to this area, and certainly the board knows, is we are a heavy freight corridor. And so what we can see here is the traffic through the valley. And so again, serves not just our valley, but California and the rest of the nation. So again, we talk a lot about mobile sources, one, because it does help move freight and people through the valley, but it also does come with some challenges. In terms of kind of how we break up our responsibilities, roles and responsibilities under the Federal Clean Air Act, and then ultimately EPA and the district and CARB. The Clean Air Act is the legislative body that sets ultimately the standards, establishes attainment dates, sets over the overall framework. Where EPA steps in is they're required in the Clean Air Act to look at these standards every 5 years until they come up with these specific emission standards for each of these pollutants. They establish these specific planning requirements. They make ultimately the attainment determinations, and of course enforce the SIP. And I think that's a key piece is for us to get SIP credit. So while these emission programs do bring us benefit outside of the approval, we also need to get the approval of EPA to be credible. And that's important because we see that through some of our incentive programs. And again, as we talk about these programs here to ultimately demonstrate attainment. And then where the district and CARB come in, CARB does have some of the unique authority under the mobile source programs as unique to California. So they do have some jurisdiction there. In the district, we enforce and issue permits and then do the local planning here as well. And again, the incentive programs. And again, just in terms of kind of the track record of the district, again, I've always loved this slide. Still pretty new to the valley, but just shows some really wonderful accomplishments over time. So these standards do change over time. They tend to get more stringent. I think here is just a good evidence of that the agency has a really good track record working with everybody here, stakeholders. We have another slide. We'll get a little bit more into that, but to accomplish these really, really challenging standards. With that, we hear often that there's a lot more to come. We still have standards out there that we need to achieve, but again, I think we have a good track record here of achieving these standards over time. A good tried and true formula, and again, a slide that I just love is how do we get there from here? We've heard partnerships being center of these successes. We heard that from CARB. We certainly carry that line. We have the most stringent rules in the nation. Those are also very effective at reducing pollution. We have a very, very effective incentive program, one that also requires a lot of public investment. So it's not just free money. There's a lot of times where folks do have to invest their own money to get these grants. Strong partnerships. Again, I don't think we can stress this enough. This is local industry, businesses, agriculture, valley residents, and public agencies working together, rowing together to finding strategies that actually work. And again, the proof is in the pudding here. Again, wonderful slide. It shows drastic reductions in pollution on all fronts, but particularly at the stationary and area source level that's within the jurisdiction of the district. With that, we've had these significant improvements, but we'll talk a little bit about the challenges. There's still more to come. So just kind of jumping into our standards, an update on the 2024 PM 2.5 standard. In 2018, we had developed a multi-standard plan Within that plan, we had a 5%, an extension for the 35 microgram that was initially granted by the EPA. This went to court, and then ultimately the court said that the incentive portion of the program didn't have adequate funding, and so that the attainment demonstration was unfortunately problematic. And so in June of 2026, we could see here was a much longer lead time. EPA actually did correct that record and stated that they had erred in giving us the 5-year extension. They also at the same time had said that now because of that, we failed to attain the standard because we had to revert back to a 2019 timeframe. So what does all that mean? It means that as we had discussed potentials before, that we are required to do what is referred to as a Clean Air Act Section 189D plan. So it's a technical name for what's more commonly understood as the 5% plan. What that requires is an annual reduction of either direct PM 2.5 or precursors. In our case, that's usually NOx. We have to do that every year by 5% until we reach attainment, but no later than 10 years. So we're currently working on that plan. That plan is now due in June 11th of 2027. Very short timeframe on that. So we are working really quickly, working with CARB, set up a public process, and we'll have more to share at the next meeting. Well, also the other bigger portion is that the contingency measures for this plan are also triggered. Those are required within 60 days, and I'll jump right into those. So we have three sets of contingency measures that are triggered, one at the state level and two at the local level. One now will be the open areas and fugitive dust rule, this 8051. That will change the threshold for rural areas down to a half acre. You can see here some of the impact. This analysis was done at the time that contingency measure was developed, so just to get a sense of the scale of that. Residential wood burning, what this does align is hotspot counties with non-hotspot counties. So the level 1 and level 2 curtailments will be the same. And then the vehicle emissions smog check that also kicks in. So the 8 year is what we're currently under because of an ozone non-attainment for the 97 standard. We did trigger the 7-year exemption. And then because of the 2026 failure to attain, there will be a 6-year exemption. So this will drop again. We're not sure from CARB when exactly that will be impacted. Probably won't likely be immediate, but we'll keep you posted on when we find out when that one will be fully triggered, or excuse me, implemented. Moving on to the 2012 standard, we've talked certainly about this a lot. Very comprehensive control strategy with that. It also contained a 5-year extension that's been out in limbo for a bit. But in June, EPA did propose approving the 5-year extension. So again, just a huge effort on all fronts. We're excited about the opportunity of this. So we'll hear more and keep the committee updated when we get a final approval on this. This is also another one that's key that we get the approval. Otherwise, we do the same here. We would have to develop a 5% plan. So this allows us to avoid that plan and to develop some additional strategies to meet the standard. Moving on to the 2015 ozone standard, you may or may not have heard that CARB had heard an extreme ozone plan. So I think we have beat that dead horse. Unless folks want me to go deeper into that, I think that's the bigger slide piece here. The one piece that I will mention is there is still a January 15, 2027 consent decree deadline that the EPA must make a final determination on that. So we'll continue to watch the progress of that. That could happen slightly sooner or slightly later, but there is a formal backstop decision on this. As we talked, it also contains the black box. Moving on to the ozone contingency plan, EPA did also approve conditionally the 2008-2015 contingency plan. They only acted on the 2008 portion of the plan. So what we had committed to in that plan is 5 coding rules listed here. The EPA is still going to act on the 2015 portion, but we have begun the preliminary work on this. We're looking to schedule hopefully a public meeting sometime in summer 2026. So it's probably looking more like September, early September, with more information to come on at a later date. And then other rules pending with EPA action. Again, we just kind of want to keep ringing this bell. We do have several rules, and I'll show here in just a second. I have been sitting with the EPA for 3 to 4 years. Again, we just feel it's critical that EPA acts on these so the underlying analysis and information used to develop those rules don't get stale. And so a lot of the data that we use over time, if these are not acted on, become difficult for the EPA to approve because the information may become dated. Here you can see we did get our LDAR rules approved in June, so that definitely was appreciated. We still got several more here on the list. What we don't have mentioned here is also a reasonable available control technology SIP. So we have another SIPs in with the EPA that require these rules to be approved. And ultimately, we believe the EPA can approve that SIP. So really kind of an order of operations. We really want to press the EPA to approve these rules so we can move on to approve the RAC SIP as well. And then just in terms of additional rules that we're working on, we are working on the AB 2851 BANSA. This is the metal shredding facilities, the fence line monitoring. This requires facilities that shred appliances and vehicles and other components. They have to do all three to be subject to this rule. Right now, it looks like only 2 facilities in the valley are subject to this. We're working with OEA. OEA is coming up with the actual thresholds of what that is. And then also we have to be a communication procedure by those facilities if they're over those levels. We did hold a scoping meeting in July 1st, 2026, and we'll continue the public process from there. We're continuing to evaluate both the CMPs and the wood burning fireplaces and heaters rules. And then just finally, again, I know we hear this often, we'll just continue to ring the bell. The reason this is all critically important, one is just we don't want to delay environmental benefits, public health benefits. So the faster we can get into attainment, the better we can protect our Valley citizens, but it's also to avoid the 2-to-1 offsets for permitting, the loss of highway federal dollars, which is substantial, 4.6 billion, plus numerous jobs. And ultimately, if these plans don't get approved, the federal government can step in and impose what they call a federal implementation plan. So then we obviously lose local control there. So again, just want to avoid that whole issue altogether. So with that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments in Modesto?
This
Seeing
is
none.
Denise. I just had one quick question. I noticed rule 4623 and 4624 refer to organic liquids. Is there some examples of organic liquids that pertain to that rule? Just so I kind of have an understanding of what that one is.
Hi, Denise, through the chair. So yeah, we're talking about oil and gas operations, gasoline, diesel, most likely diesel storage tanks, but could be gasoline and other types of products.
So I'm the rule 4623 says organic liquids. So I just, when you come from ag or some
Yeah, no, I mean,
commodities or
those
organic.
commodities, oil and gas are considered organic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So specific to like those fuels.
Yeah, there's a number of other things that are subject to that rule as well, but this is primarily those type. Let's say, for example, you have asphalt, liquid, the really thick stuff, those could be potentially subject to the rule as well. So anything that is organic, I mean, oil and gas, they come from the ground, right? So anything that stores tanks, liquids that have a potential to volatilize into the air, right? So the rule basically, requires some sort of a control system, whether it's a PV valve or for larger tanks, vapor recovery systems.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions in Modesto? Seeing none. Any questions in Bakersfield? Seeing none there. Any questions here in Fresno? Going to the public comment.
Mr. Do you have any public comment?
No public comment in Modesto.
Thank you. Bakersfield, do you have public comment?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Are there any public comments in Fresno? Seeing none and none online.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move on to item 12, AB 617 implementation updates.
Hello, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the CAC. My name is Stephanie, Director of Community Strategies and Resources, here today to provide you all with an update on the implementation of AB 617. Just as background, we do continue to meet with all 4 of our CARB selected community steering committees. Those, as I know many of you know, are South Central Fresno, Shafter, Stockton, and Arvin Lamont. Some new updates that I do have for you is over the past couple of weeks, we have had the opportunity to continue telling really great stories about the AB 617 program. Last week, CARB provided their annual progress update to their board on the AB 617 program. And we were part of a panel alongside our colleagues at Sacramento Metro and also Bay Area Air Districts, along with some community members. It was a really great update. We provided updates on how implementation is going. For example, we talked about some different projects. So we've invested a total of 391 million through the community air protection funding in low income and disadvantaged communities across the valley that have resulted in over 27,000 tons of emissions. So some really great numbers there to be able to share. We also highlighted just a few of the many cool projects that we've had the opportunity to fund through these funds, which include deploying 50 new battery electric heavy duty vehicles in South Central Fresno. We're replacing 2 Tier 0 locomotives up in the Port of Stockton and providing the necessary infrastructure. So just a great opportunity to really highlight some great projects. And just the volume of work that's happening across the state is very clear as a part of the update. We heard really great feedback. Things are happening in both our selected communities and those non-selected communities as well. So overall, great update that we were able to provide. And yesterday, I do believe that our colleagues over at the OC department are going to share this, a much more comprehensive update. But we did participate in the Clean Air, Clean Solutions event. It was an event at the Capitol yesterday, showcasing California's, various clean air technologies and the different programs. And we had a tent for AB 617. So we were there along with different colleagues talking about AB 617 efforts to share information with legislators, their staff, policymakers, and just members of the public. We got a ton of people. It was super hot. But they were getting people out there. There was a passport and people could get ice cream if they kind of visited all the tents. So we had some really great opportunities to connect with the public and talk about the AB 617 program. Just a couple other updates is we've also been expanding our community engagement work. I know that I've shared this update with you all pretty regularly, that it's our goal to continue to really grow the work across the whole valley. And so this summer, we've been out to Livingston, Los Banos, Mendota, and then we'll be in Madera at the end of the month. And we just have, these are great opportunities to share all the different resources and services that we have available at the district with community members. Oh, and Mendota too, sorry if I didn't say it. Livingston, Los Banos, Mendota, and then we'll be in Madera at the end of the month. And as always, the offer stands. If there's any communities that you think want to engage with us, would like a presentation about what we do and the resources that we provide, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone in our OC team. We'd be happy to go out. Those are all the updates that I have on the district side. I also have someone from our CARB team here to join us, Mike, and I'll pass to Mike.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike Alves. I am an air pollution specialist at the Office of Community Air Protection at CARB. I'm currently covering for my colleague Michelle Byers. A lot of my colleagues here have updated already on a lot of the things I wanted to cover, including the annual progress report release from last month, and the good news of the AB 617 budget allocation from SB 111. I did want to mention one thing that I didn't hear about, which was we successfully hosted our summer peer-to-peer learning session from last month, I believe, June 30th. That session included and focused on interagency coordination. There was engagement from community steering committee members. And we've gotten really good feedback from those peer-to-peer learning sessions. It seems that members really enjoy talking across district lines and learning from other CSCs in the AB 617 program. The next session is scheduled for September 29th. I know there's another meeting after this one, so we'll probably update with a little bit more information on that. And then beyond that, I don't know if this was covered in the last meeting in June, but the statewide mobile monitoring initiative, which was a $27 million contract from CARB that completed officially at the end of May. And the data is currently being analyzed and checked for quality control by the monitoring lab division at CARB. And so we did have to delay the public workshop because of that. But that data rollout is currently TBD, but it is in the best interest of CARB to roll that out as soon as possible. And that will be all for my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Stephanie or Michael in Modesto? Any in Bakersfield? Any here in Fresno? Sure.
Thank you, Stephanie. Nice presentation as well. Is it possible to bring some of your teams to the Tulare County and is it people or community members can ask for your team to come and tell them what you guys do? What is your contact information?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to share that with you. And I think Jamie and I can both share cards with you following the meeting, and we would love to come out.
Thank you both very much. We'll go ahead and move on to item 13, Outreach and Communications Report.
Hello, my name is Heather Hanks. I'm the Program Manager for Outreach and Communications. It is my pleasure to be before you today. Hello. I'm going to tag along with some of the updates you got from Stephanie. Manuel. Hello, Manuel. You too, directly. Yesterday was an incredible day in the state capitol. A bunch of air districts, almost all the air districts across the state were represented up there. And we had the full display and it was incredible, as Stephanie talked about. As far as passports and getting people to go through, there was an area for air monitoring, an area for AB 617. And then each district had its own display and we had TV screens and iPads where you could go through our annual report and things to talk about and hand to people and talk to the public. Despite the heat, there was a fan and some air moving too, but it was a great day at the Capitol, a chance to showcase the innovative things we're doing across the state and specifically in the Valley. What are we doing in outreach and communications? Well, it is back to school season. And it's also about the time of the year that we do a summer outreach campaign, reminding folks of key current information regarding air quality. This year's campaign, timed with back to school season, works out well. It's going to actually feature some of our kids' calendar artwork. We're taking that investment that we've had year over year, these wonderful messages from the students, animating them and making them digital. So you'll see those reminding folks to become a part of our Healthy Air Living Schools program. No idling at school. They can request idling signs from us. And these ads will pop up on social media and digital spaces in the coming weeks. At the same time, it is also unfortunately the time of year where we deal with wildfires. And we want to encourage the public to be wildfire ready. So we're also going to promote that and have some digital support also with artwork from our students supporting that in the campaign this year to educate the public on how to be ready, what to do, and the resources that are available to them. It is that time of year that we ask those same students out in the schools for artwork too. In September is our deadline and we'll begin compiling for next year's calendar. So that's always an option in discussion with teachers and students and interacting with schools. And that was another piece yesterday. We had a chance to showcase the cool things we do with schools and the activities we have and the ways we directly interact with children, teachers, and the public. Kids Air campaign, back to school, calendars. I think I've hit on all of it. Jamie? You missed it? You're great. She says I'm good. Any questions from you? Lots going on in our world and happy to take any questions.
What was the I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is Denise Modesto. So for those calendars in the schools, is there an application? How can you get that information out to teachers so that they can submit them?
Yep, absolutely. We have valleyair.org/kids calendar, but we can also shoot an email with some of those details to you. And that's exactly it. There's a website. Due date is next month. And anytime you have interest, you can send folks to our valleyair.org webpage. It's a lot better designed as of late, and we'll get them right there.
Any other questions? Any other questions in Modesto?
Yes, I have a question. So, Heather, the showcase, we've heard from several different people and the participation and all of that. Who was your primary audience you were trying to reach with the showcase? Was it, legislators? Was it state policy staff? Or was it, who was the audience? And then do you feel like the showcase was an effective vehicle to make that linkage and connection with those people? And if you're going to do it again, what is the opportunity for some of the regulated community to participate as well?
Sure. I actually got to hang out in the 100-degree heat. We left Heather behind, so I'll talk a little bit about it. How it came about is that Assemblymember Solace, who's down in Los Angeles County, worked with South Coast Air Management District to do a clean air capital showcase event. So that was where the kernel of the idea began. It then kind of grew to the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association. And that's the professional organization that kind of all the air districts are under. At that point, everyone said, hey, I think this would be better if all air districts were involved. At that point, it was kind of a little down the road with South Coast already. So we just kind of plugged into what they were already planning. They were definitely the main organizers. The goal was to basically have legislators and their staff see the importance of air quality issues in the state. Our attitude was to see the value of incentive dollars that come from the state and make sure that they continue to flow. And look, they've created quantifiable emission reductions over the past 20 years. So these are great use of state funds. And to showcase air quality improvements, air monitoring that's going on, the AB 617 program, incident response programs. What I said to my team, having gone yesterday and come back, it was a great exercise in learning for us yesterday, in all honesty. I think most of us were there, thought that the timing was a little off. This was the first day back in session for legislators, and they're kind of, they're in that last mile of the marathon. And in all honesty, they don't have a lot of time to mill about outside, hanging out at booths in 100-degree heat. So I think we actually have a meeting planned to do a little bit of a debrief. One of my staff actually made it 2 years ago to the Ag Day at the state capitol. And even she said, and I think that happened in the spring or early summer, in the fall. She even said that it was night and day as far as interest, and that the Ag Day had a lot more interest. And I think part of it was that the timing was just better around for the Ag Day. So we learned a lot. We learned a lot about maybe how we might, as a booth, do things a little bit differently. I'm going to be taking some ideas back to the outreach group from the CAPCOA, the California Air Pollution Controls Officers Association group, to talk a little bit about how the entire event might just be a little bit better. It was a great event in that it had lots of equipment. We had ag equipment and zero emission class 8 heavy duty trucks out there, and lawn care equipment and air monitoring equipment, and a fire truck. We had passenger vehicles. We had a school bus. We had probably upwards of 50 pieces of equipment out there. And I think getting that in front of policymakers and letting them see that this is real stuff that really works, and that works in the field or in the classroom or in the, on the road, is incredibly beneficial. And they did have a handful of grantees out there with the programs that they were a part of. But to your point, I definitely think with a little more time, a little more thoughtfulness, a little bit more understanding of, when the iron might be hottest, not literally though, we might be able to have a little bit more of an impact. But was there a downside? Not at all. There was no downside to yesterday at all. Is there potential to get more ROI out of us on that type of thing? 100%.
And I need to correct. The Ag Day function is in March, but the farm to table is in September.
I was gonna say, I thought Cass had gone in the spring because it's still hot in September, and she said it was beautiful when she went out to the Ag Day. So.
Thank you. Any other questions in Modesto? Any questions in Bakersfield? Seeing none, any questions or comments here in Fresno?
Quick question. The drawings, what grade levels?
All of them, kindergarten through 12th. We'll take all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Not you. He's kindergarten through 12th.
Ashley.
would be mistaken for kindergarten. So that,
I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to your team for also and plug that you guys are heading up to the wildfire district here in Eastern Madera County for the smoke readiness workshop on August 15th. And we welcome anybody from the San Joaquin Valley to come up and join us for that. So I wanted to just plug that and say thank you for attending.
We look forward to being with you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comment, I'll go ahead and go to item, oh, sorry. That wasn't on purpose.
I think next time you need to have ices or smoothies with a touch of tequila for the legislators. But again, I think, you know, I heard some stuff yesterday when you guys were there. And again, Shiraz and everybody, there's something about Jamie, your staff and the people. They're, I don't know, you're eating the right foods in the San Joaquin Valley, and you have a whole different persona of presentation. And I don't know what it is, but what I heard is that your booth was one of the best booths of excitement and motivation and people smiling. And if we can patent that, Shiraz, and get it to CARB and a few other agencies, including the PUC and even CDFA, I think you should patent it and sell that and put the money into the Clean Car program. But again, I just want to say, Madam Chair, great reports. And I just can't say enough about the entire staff, Jamie and Heather, all of you folks, and even Stephanie, even the 617. You guys just, I don't know what it is. You got to sell it because you make people excited about what you're trying to do and clean up the air. And you treat people with the greatest dignity, no matter if they bring their stuff in a grocery bag, a plastic bag, you treat them like they had a folder, a leather suitcase. So again, Shiraz, the entire team, everybody, Tim and John and Ryan, I don't see any other one here, so I don't get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. And council, of course. And yes, and council definitely is very important, especially when we have to not violate the Brown Act. But again, just a tremendous accolades to the entire staff for doing that yesterday in Sacramento. Great job.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on now to item 14, CAC member comments. Any CAC member comments in Modesto? Seeing none. Any in Bakersfield? Also seeing none. Oh, wait, was that somebody? No, okay. Here in Fresno. Mr. Maderos.
I just want to apologize to legal staff. Sometimes I have a tendency, I do this in my own city council meetings. I forget sometimes that I'm not legal counsel for the city council, and I'm also that way here. So I apologize for that. Pass that on if you would.
Laura?
I'm just going to ask, because this is the second time that we've encountered this challenge, right, of wanting to respond in a timely manner to an issue, especially with CARB. And so I would really love to see Shiraz, Samir, legal team, let's find a path forward, because it was disappointing. I'm going to be very honest. And I think as we start looking about being timely, right, if we wanted to pass information on to the governing board, if we want the governing board to support some actions from the CAC, we don't have that opportunity to do that before the next CARB board meeting. So I think that there is something, I think maybe it's a narrow reading of some aspects of the Brown Act, and I think it requires a deeper dive. It really needs an investment in.
Can I give a suggestion? I'm violating my apology right now.
I'll violate it with you.
Many agendas, I know at the school board level that, and even city council level, they had a standing agenda item where they indicate city manager review or superintendent review, and it always gives them the opportunity to go into that area. We could have a standard agenda item that indicates potential response to issues involving CARB.
And Dennis, I was actually just going to say that we can do that with our existing agenda items. It can have the option, and the
Yes.
flexibility to insert the ability that it might be an action item.
Yeah. No,
And if I had enough foresight right after that CAR meeting to call Patty right after and say, this is going to be a really hot issue at CAC, then she could have done that. But I think that we need to give ourselves that flexibility.
no, I understand. Go ahead.
No, after the last fiasco, I said we should just make everything an action item or action discussion item, and then we don't have to screw with all this.
We still have to list it, though. We still have to list that potential under the
Yeah,
circumstance.
well, that's what I'm saying. If you make everything action discussion, then we're covered.
And Kelly, I don't think we have to make it an action item, but there is verbiage out there with other boards and legislative bodies that gives you that flexibility. And so, and I'm on something like that. So if you want me to copy and paste some language and send it your way, I can do that. But I just don't want to see us have this situation again.
To the chair, comment noted, and I think we have discussed this multiple times, and I think we continue to not get it right. So we will go back and figure this out, okay, in a way that allows more flexibility. So we'll put our heads together and do that.
And I'll ask that this be added to next month's agenda. So that way we're all aware of what that process looks like and you can teach us.
Any other CAC comments?
And if you figure that out, then I will cut my comments tremendously down to save the time.
Don't lie, Manuel. It
that's on
won't affect
record.
you one bit.
That was on record, just so you know, everyone heard that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to item 15, volunteer to represent report during governing board meeting. Mr. Cunha?
I will be honored to.
Thank you.
And I will behave at that course.
Again, on record. Okay, so we'll go ahead and adjourn, and the next CAC meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 1st, 2026 at 10 a.m. Thank you all.